Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about how to change chords. And this is more of a lesson for beginners who have just learned how to play G, C, D, A minor, A major, E minor. And in a lot of cases, what I see with students who are just learning some chords is that they can play each chord individually, but changing between the chords is difficult. And it makes sense because most of these chords require us to be doing something with 3 fingers. So to change from one chord to another means that we have to have 3 of our fingers going in different directions at the same time. And that's not very easy. But what I'm going to show you here is a way to break down these chord changes into their individual parts and then build each one of them up into a full chord change, which can help you to get better very, very quickly and not get yourself into a situation where you try and change chords and you lift one up and then your hand freaks out because it really doesn't know where it's going. So let's take a look at switching from a G chord to a D chord. So this is one of the fingerings of G, and you can do it with any fingering you want. You can do it with this one if you want to, with the 3rd finger and the pinky. But most people start out learning this one, where we've got our 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And then we want to go to a D chord, which is 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So that's what going back and forth between these 2 chords looks like. But if we want to break it down, especially for beginners who want to learn how to start getting from chord to chord, is to look at where each individual finger needs to go. So if I start with the 1st finger, it's on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. And if I want to change just my 1st finger from where it needs to be for G chord to where it needs to be for D chord, all I need to do is move it here to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So here it is within the chord, and then here it is by itself. Now that is not a very difficult motion. I can do the same thing for my other fingers. Here's my 2nd finger, 3rd fret of the 6th string, needs to come over here to the 2nd fret of the 1st string for the D chord. G, D. Now my 3rd finger starts out on the 3rd fret of the 1st string for a G chord, moves down to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string for a D chord. And you don't have to put your fingers away. I'm kind of putting them away so you can see what the individual finger is doing that's fretting the notes. So your hand would probably look more like this. So here it is within the chords. Now, once you're comfortable with that, you can move up to combinations of 2 fingers at a time. So my 1st and 2nd fingers for a G chord are going to be here. For a D chord, I'm going to need to move them over here. And all I'm doing is I'm putting together the individual movements of the individual fingers that we just went through. Now if I want to do my 1st and 3rd fingers, and now if I want to do my 2nd and 3rd fingers, Now this is the one that gets most people because you have to move your fingers in opposite directions. So my third finger needs to extend, my second finger needs to flex. So I'm really going from this to this. And that's kind of a difficult motion for people who've never played the guitar before. But if you take the extra finger out of the equation for a while, at least you can isolate the motion. And you can even go so far as to move one finger at a time. So I'm going to take my second finger and move it, and then I'm going to take my third finger and move it. I can reverse it if I want to. I'm going to take my third finger and move it, and then I'm going to take my second finger and move it. And as you get better at doing those things one at a time, your body will kind of by itself learn how to do them simultaneously. And then once you're comfortable with all of those one finger movements, all of the two finger movements, then you can put it all together. Try to move all three of your fingers at the same time. Now, this is a great way to learn how to change from any chord to any chord. So you can go from D to C, C to A minor. This can apply to any change. It doesn't even have to be chords. Anywhere on the neck for any song that you're learning, if you've got to do more than one thing at a time, break it down. Do one finger, then do the other finger. Do a third finger if you need to, and then start putting it all together. Now, if you want to do the alternate G fingering, this one's actually even easier for some people because there's a finger that you don't have to move. So if I've got this fingering where I've got both of these fingers up here, I've got my third finger on the third fret of the second string, and then I've got my pinky on the third fret of the first string. To switch from D to G, I don't even have to pick up my third finger, I just pivot on it. And in this case, I'm not using my pinky for the D chord. I'm just picking that up. And this is another case where just go through what each finger needs to do, and then start adding up the fingers 2 at a time, and then 3 at a time, and you should be able to switch back and forth between those chords much easier, very, very quickly. So thanks for visiting whyisuckatguitar.com. See you next time.